And then the riparian corridor is the part of the floodplain that is closest to the stream. And it serves many of the same functions as a floodplain. And where you don't have a healthy functioning floodplain, they become even more important. And some of their functions are they moderate temperature by shading the stream, they contribute organic matter to the stream, contribute woody debris to the stream, filter excess nutrients and sediment moving to the stream, and they also help with bank stabilization. The next component is water quality, and this is greatly affected by the components I've already discussed. And while the picture that's shown here uh, is probably outside the realm of possibility for many of our streams in Iowa, uh, there are a lot of things that can improve the conditions that we see today. One of the biggest pollutants that we see to our water in Iowa streams is in the form of sediment or soil. And this can come from the watershed, both from agricultural areas or urban areas, and it can also come from stream banks and beds. Another of the major pollutants that affect streams in Iowa are nutrients. And while nutrients are important to streams, excess amounts of nutrients can have harmful effects and can cause algae blooms and excessive algae growth on the bottom of streams that can harm aquatic life. And all these factors in turn affect the biology of the stream. Healthy streams with good water quality and diverse habitats, diversity of depth, velocity, substrate, all lead to higher biological diversity in the stream. Some important habitat features are clean gravel cobble substrates, which can be impacted by excessive sedimentation, which can bury these valuable habitats, and also woody debris, which are healthy riparian corridors contribute woody debris to streams, and woody debris in turn provides cover for fish and as well as creating diversity and velocities and depth around this structure, but it also serves as important substrates for invertebrates. And having more diverse habitats and higher quality habitats in stream leads to a greater diversity and abundance of invertebrates and fish in the stream. And just to kind of recap, components of quality streams in Iowa. Quality stream in Iowa would have good connection with its floodplain, be free flowing without barriers to movements of sediment and organic matter and organisms in the stream. They'd have compatible watershed use, diversity of substrates and water depths. They'd be meandering as opposed to straightened. They have healthy riparian corridors, relatively predictable base flow, and compatible near stream land cover or floodplain land use. Some of the changes that have occurred in Iowa, one of the biggest changes to the watershed in Iowa has been that prairie has been replaced to a large extent by corn and soybeans. And this has altered the hydrology of streams and the pathway by which water gets from precipitation to the streams and the rate that it does that. Some of the results of cultivation, soil is compacted and this reduces infiltration of water, and this increases surface runoff, increasing erosion, reduced water quality, more water in the channels at one time. Uh, Channels must deepen and widen to accommodate these higher flow events, and this has deteriorated aquatic ecosystems. Some of the tools that we have to minimize effects of cultivation are in the watershed. We have terraces, grass waterways, no-till, contour buffers, and several other practices. And one of the bright spots on the horizon is we've increased our ability to target these practices in the places that they'll do the most good. And this slide shows a Russell model that uses land cover and land slope to determine where your most likely areas are to have erosion in a watershed, and can help identify places to target with practices that will minimize movement of soils and nutrients. Another big change has been drainage of the land, drainage of wetlands. We've lost a lot of wetlands in Iowa. And some of the results of this drainage and impacts on streams, that water from parts of the watershed that normally would have gone into the groundwater are now being drained to the streams. It's doing so more rapidly than in the past, and it's increased both the amount of water that flows through a stream at a time and also the chemicals in the stream. And this has caused streams to deepen and widen and reduce the water quality in the streams. And this in turn has affected aquatic ecosystems. And some of the things that are being done to help with this situation are wetland restoration as the primary tool, both to try to get some wetlands back in the landscape that have been lost, and also to strategically place wetlands where they can intercept some of this drainage and basically treat the water before it moves on down the streams. And other changes in the watershed, urbanization is one that has in urbanized area, there's a large percentage of impervious surfaces, compacted lawns and parks, and this results in rapid runoff. There's also high chemical loads in the runoff from fertilizers applied to lawns, and also from runoff from streets. And this causes the streams that receive this drainage to have to deepen their channels and widen their channels to accommodate this increased drainage. And this has impacted aquatic systems and also increased potential for significant flooding in some areas. There's several tools that have been developed for urban conservation, and I've included a link to an NRCS site, I believe it's called Backyard and Urban Conservation, and that gives a lot of information on different practices that can be used in urban areas to reduce runoff of sediment and nutrients, and also help with some of the impacts of changes in the hydrology that are common to urban areas. Changes in the riparian corridor and floodplains. Some of the most common are both grazing along streams in the floodplain and riparian area, and also row cropping in floodplains and up to the banks of streams. There's several improvement techniques in riparian corridor management. Some of them deal with fencing, rotational or flash grazing, alternative watering sources for cattle so they don't need to get their water from the stream, and also alternative near stream land uses that can be incorporated. And some other practices that have showed a lot of promise are filter strips and riparian forest buffers. And these have been shown to have a big impact in reducing effects on streams of some of the land use practices. And this is just a flyer from Bear Creek, which has had a tremendous amount of research done on it. And they've shown many benefits of riparian buffers on Bear Creek. Just a few of the highlights, they've found that the buffers can cut sediment and surface runoff by as much as 90%, can cut nitrogen and phosphorus by 80%. And there's a whole list of other benefits there. Some changes that we've seen to channels in the streams. The most drastic has been channelization, or stream straightening, and this has a devastating impact on streams. It shortens the channel length, which it creates higher velocities and increased erosion. A lot of times streams are channelized because someone has an erosion problem and think that'll help fix it, but unfortunately it only makes it worse, both in that area and in upstream and downstream areas. And it causes channels to deepen and widen, and really impacts aquatic ecosystems. And this is just one example. There's very little diversity of depth, velocity, or flow in channelized system, and in turn there's low abundance and diversity of aquatic life in these systems. Some alternatives that can deal with the erosion problems without having negative impacts on the stream. Stream shaping and armoring, or planting vegetation such as willow stakes or cedar tree revetments and rootwad revetments that can all help with erosion while not negatively impacting the stream habitat, and in many cases improving it. The other change to channels I'd like to mention are dams. We have a lot of dams on our rivers in the state, and some of the negative impacts of dams are sediment retention, and then downstream erosion. They're barriers to migration of fish and other organisms. They fragment the habitat. They can change water quality, and they also change hydrology in some systems. One of the tools that has been used for several years in other states, and more recently we're just getting started with some of it in Iowa. This is dam removal and modification, and this example is the Turkey River at Cresco, where the dam was modified and converted into what they call a rock arch rapids, which both it allows fish passage, but also improves safety near the dam. And we expect to see more of these type of projects in the future, as a lot of these dams are aging and having problems, and it's good to have some other alternatives out there that would have positive impacts on the stream to replace them with. And finally, I just wanted to mention, and with you being educators, I'm sure you realize this, but educating people to the values of streams and how streams work will help in the future help people make better decisions that will both improve the health of our aquatic systems and streams, but also I think minimize some of the problems that people are having with streams, and as far as property loss and some of the other issues that are associated with flooding and other stream problems. And that completes my presentation, and I'll switch the mic back to Marcy, and I'll start taking questions.
Great, thanks, Greg.